All right, Phoenix Suns Nation, welcome back to another post-game reaction. This is game 80 in the books. 2 more games left to go in the regular season. The Phoenix Suns, they bounce back. I think everyone, if you didn't watch the game, you're going to look at this and be like, oh, the Suns bounced back. They beat the Clippers 124-108. Not the case. Not the case. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I honestly don't know how this post-game reaction is going to go. It could be filled with anger, or we could just care less. Let's jump in.
Kevin Durant delivers. Gorgeous move from Bradley Beal.
Personally, I feel like that brother needed help.
Devin Booker with the clutch three.
After the embarrassing loss last night, despite their valid comeback, the Suns lost last night, and they were on a back-to-back against the Los Angeles Clippers. They're on the road. They're ending the season with a 3-game road streak. You're playing the Clippers, you're playing the Kings, and then you're playing the Timberwolves. So here we go. Need this win despite the awful game last night. You need this game because you're either in the play-in or you have an opportunity to get that number 6 seed. Now, it's not all in their hands. They do need a little bit of help from the Pelicans. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But tonight, Devin Booker leads the charge, 37 points, followed by Bradley Beal with 26 points and Kevin Durant with 24 points. I really feel like the big three showed up here, but why does it feel like it is doom and gloom? Ashton, what's your reaction to this game?
Showed up is it's definitely a term. I wouldn't use the word showed up after a game like this. Yeah, so if you didn't watch this game, the 3 quarters for this game were atrocious. They were terrible. The Suns were unfocused, right? They were unserious. They're just chucking up threes like every single possession.
Yes.
My reaction is you got the win. Good. Now what else can you do?
So back to that comment about the 3-pointers. The Suns shot a season high 53 pointers, which I think the previous one was 44 or 45, and that was earlier in the season. But yeah, this is such a difficult game. I mean, it's easier if they lose because then you could jump on this game and just hammer them, because it really was a losing effort. I felt like it was very disappointing, like you said, for the first 3 quarters of this game. What the heck? It was like the first 40 minutes of this game. It really felt like this team had given up. That's kind of just the sense I got, No one was. And for a team that can go and get buckets from the mid-range, and for their players that can drive to the basket and dominate the paint, it was very surprising to see this team shoot an all-time high 53 pointers. A lot of the times I'm just watching this game, I'm like, why are we just settling for threes? You can, and it was frustrating too, because we're not even ahead. We're still behind the Clippers, who, by the way, I forgot to mention, they had no one playing for them tonight. They didn't have Kawhi Leonard. They didn't have Paul George. They didn't have James Harden. They didn't have Russell Westbrook. They didn't have Zubac. They were out of their starting lineup. And for the most part of this game, they gave the Suns hell. They gave it to them. And for a while there, I think it was all on our minds, where it's like, I think the Suns might actually lose this game, until Book and KD turned it on. Even though I'm pretty sure they're tired after the back-to-back and playing the game that they did last night. This isn't comforting. Again, I'm glad we got the win, because we remain in that play-in. We remain in that position where we can get that number 6 seed. But nothing about this performance tonight inspires confidence in this team moving forward. Just the start of the game too. It was very stressful. You would expect for a team that got embarrassed like they did last night and the way that they played to come back in that game, it's probably the furthest thing from your mind to maybe predict that this Suns team is going to come out here and start the game the literal exact same way. They went down 10-2 to start this game. And with less players the Clippers had, and the Suns had their big three. It's just, this is your team in a nutshell. This is who they are, and I've been telling you, like, this is who they are, and there's nothing else that can change that. And I don't really feel like pumping my chest about this win because we didn't play anyone. Credit to Bones Highland for dropping 37 points, but this is a game that you should have won. This is the game that you should have won decisively, and you didn't. I mean, it took everything to try to get this win. I feel a little bit depleted after this game.
Yeah, I'm just kind of sad, depressed. Where has my sunshine gone? I'm liking the rays hitting my face again. But I guess we won by 16. You could call that a decisive win.
Yeah, it just, and I think this distinguishes fans that watch the games and fans that just kind of like, see what they see on Twitter and on social media. Because if you watch this game, I mean, what the heck, you expect this team to play so much better, especially against the Clippers, who don't have anyone tonight, and they just didn't. And it's very strange because if you look at the stat sheet, Book dropped 37, Katie dropped 24, Beal dropped 26. Grayson Allen is just struggling right now, and it sucks to see because he's been such a huge part of this season, and unfortunately doesn't lead the NBA in 3-point percentage anymore because he's been that bad the past couple of games. Finally hit a couple of threes, but did not get the start tonight. What did you think about that, putting in Royce O'Neal over Grayson Allen?
I mean, very interesting. They probably just did it for like defensive reasons. But yeah, Grayson Allen has not looked himself. In fact, since the fourth quarter of that Pelicans game, and Grayson Allen's 2 threes tonight, Grayson Allen was 0 of 15 from 3.
Yeah.
Disaster.
Yeah, it's and he's had a couple of cold streaks, but I feel like this one's just been felt a little bit longer, and I think maybe it's just because we were on a 2-game losing streak and we finally get out of that. But yeah, it's just interesting because I don't think either of them are more consistent than the other. I think Royce O'Neal plays slightly better defense than Grayson Allen. And Royce O'Neal can give you that 3-point shot. I mean, tonight he had 15 points, and for being in the starting lineup, that's what I want to see. But I think what really happened is the bench failed this team. And speaking of the bench, Drew Eubanks, 0 minutes, didn't get any playing time, and we saw Thaddeus Young come in first off of the bench to replace Yusuf Nurkic. There were a few changes tonight. Does this inspire you, inspire confidence in you moving forward, knowing that Vogel made a couple of changes this late in the season? I feel like he's kind of listening to fans.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen fans complaining that they want Thad in because of that amazing Denver game. And I'm right there with them. That Denver game was magical. But I don't feel like Thad has had good matchups. Like I think that Denver game was so good for him because of his passing. But since then, like all of our matchups, he would have been like either oversized, and sometimes he just straight up blows layups.
Yeah, absolutely. And he got 13 minutes. But it's just really weird because I feel like the Suns just don't have an identity. I think you look at teams that are really successful, and I think you can maybe pick and choose like what they do really good, what they're really good at. And the Suns, in a very constructive way and form of criticism, they just don't have any identity right now. And that's probably the worst thing to have going into playoffs. A lot of people are like, oh, well, that makes them dangerous because you have no idea what kind of team is going to. It's like we need it. I think tonight was kind of just like, let's throw anything at the board and see if it sticks. And they did. They won. But like I still don't feel confident about the fact there's no confidence in Drew Eubanks. I feel like we're still not done with him. I wouldn't be surprised if we play the Kings here next, and he's the first one off of the bench because Vogel just loves Drew Eubanks. And another surprising thing is no Bol tonight. Just a minute. I mean, he saw the end of the game, but no Bol. We've seen no Josh Okogie. And to add to that list, no IT, but it kind of just feels like they're so scrambled right now. They're everywhere. I feel like each of these players and the coaches are just on separate islands right now. And I mean, it was enough to beat, a lifeless Clippers team tonight. But I mean, we got a playoff game coming up here on Friday against the Kings, and that's a must win.
Always is.
Yeah, that's going to be a big game to beat the Kings. Now, I do want to talk about this. So with the NBA standings, as it stands right now, the Suns did reclaim their number 6 seed, but that's only because the Pelicans haven't played. The Pelicans do have a game ahead of this Phoenix Suns team. And so if we take a look at the schedule here, obviously we play the Kings and the Timberwolves, and the Kings are still playing for something, but the Timberwolves are pretty much at the end of their of what they can do. On the other side, the Pelicans play the Kings tomorrow, then they play the Warriors, and then they play the Lakers. So they definitely, I feel like, have the harder schedule because the Warriors and the Lakers will be playing for something with those playing spots remaining. And so, I think it's still in the cards there for the Suns to potentially win their games, and the Pelicans at least drop one, and that would seal the Suns in for the 6th seed. What do you think about that?
It definitely is interesting. For a while, the 6th seed looked a little unappealing because Thunder had the 3rd seed, but as of right now, Timberwolves lost to the Nuggets, and Timberwolves are in the 3rd seed. If they could stay like that until playoffs, and we could get the 6th seed, that's my dream scenario.
Yeah. So definitely, I would want to be in the 6th seed too. But I would even argue, and we talked about this last game, the playing spot is a little bit attractive. Obviously, it's like a do or die situation, but like we saw last season with the Lakers, the play-in spot really gives you an easy route here. I'm just really glad we're getting the Clippers and the Mavericks. That's going to be a good series, and I'm glad we're not seeing either of those teams because obviously you saw what the Clippers can do to the Suns team, but I think the Mavericks are arguably the hottest team in the NBA right now. And give your prediction now that we know for sure that's going to be a series and that's confirmed. What do you have the Clippers and Mavericks, Ashton?
Oh, I actually haven't given any thought because I've been so disappointed in the Suns. But I was just talking about it tonight while watching this game. I have Clippers. Say the Clippers are going to take that one.
Clippers in how many games?
Ooh, 6.
Clippers in 6. Okay. I think I tweeted out, I said Mavs in 5, maybe 6. But I just don't trust the Clippers to be healthy. And the Mavs have one of the better defenses. So we'll see about that. But I think the Mavs should take that and should set up a matchup with the Nuggets, I would think. But anyways, that's totally off the point. We got the Kings next, and they're fighting for a playing spot. But that's honestly all I have to say about this game. Very I'm disappointed. I think they should have played a lot better. I think they're lacking identity right now, and really the big three statistically, like you look at the box score, like they put up points, but it took them a while to get there, and the bench just needs to play better. And I think Vogel is still trying to figure out what works for this team coming off the bench, and whatever. It's like solving a Rubik's Cube trying to figure this team out.
Yeah, it's crazy at this point in the season. We don't have that much answers, and there's a lot of problems. Boy, howdy, is there a lot of problems. But my prediction is that if the Suns actually want to make a run here, they're going to have to run 2 lineups. And these 2 lineups are the only ones that are actually good. The first lineup would be just running our starters. And this is a very limited lineup because I think it only would be successful against teams like Timberwolves and Nuggets, Pelicans, and Lakers even. But that's only 4 teams. And I think if we ever have to meet with the Thunder, Timberwolves, Clippers, or Mavs, minus Timberwolves. Did I say Timberwolves? We'd have to actually play small ball for that. Like, just have KD at center, all guards for the full series, like 40 minutes a game. That's the only possible way I could see us winning those games.
Yeah, I would definitely want to see them run a more small ball lineup. I think Vogel, for whatever reason, hates to run that, but I think we've shown to that to be pretty good. But I do want to revisit before we jump out of here, I do want to revisit our 10-game prediction going back to Denver. So this was going to be the final 10-game stretch, and we had made predictions. Now, I was very pessimistic at that point because we just lost to the Spurs, and I said we were going to be 3-7. But I think being optimistic, I thought we were going to be around 5-5, which I think remind me. I think that's where you ended up as well, right? You said we were going to be 5-5. Okay, so at this point, we are 5-3.
Yes,
5-3. With Sacramento and Minnesota to go. That Minnesota game should be a shoo-in, if you ask me, because I think it's going to be completely meaningless, especially for the Timberwolves. But I don't know, because that number 1 seed is still in play. But yeah, the opportunity to go 7-3 here, or drop these final 2 games and you go 5-5, or split them. But my prediction was right. I did say that I think with the Clippers we were going to split. Now, I didn't think we were going to split the games like this. I didn't envision the games, either of them, going like this, but we split, and that's kind of what I had in mind. But yeah, there we go. What's your prediction for these final 2 games, Ashton? You think we win both of them?
Yeah, I think we might take 2 of these. Like Sacramento, they don't have Malik Monk. They don't have Kevin Huerter. Just go small ball. Just run small ball. It's the only lineup that works against the Kings. Minnesota, so there's news today that Cat might be returning for either their Friday game or, our Suns game.
Yeah.
But I think they just might rest him. I don't really see a point in playing him in the last game of the season.
Yeah.
Just rest him for the playoffs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I agree to see where that goes. But yeah. But other than that, that's all we got to say about tonight's game. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And we will see you guys on Friday for the game against the Sacramento Kings. Another must win if the Suns want to clinch that number 6 seed and be out of that play-in spot. But we will see you then. Go Suns.
Kevin Durant.